Come see us doing live shows. We'll be in Los Angeles, Honolulu, Baltimore, Atlantic City, Cohoes, New York, Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets, and only jimmydore.com. Hey, guess what? Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau confirms that Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant will be arrested if they step foot in Canada after the ICC's decision to issue arrest warrants. Justin Trudeau says he's going to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu if he goes to Canada. Guess what? Benjamin Netanyahu's not going to go to Canada.
Yeah.
But
sounds like big talk.
Sounds like big talk, but at least he's saying it, right? So here, let's listen.
Song, CBC News. Now that the ICC has issued warrants for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, Canadian law enforcement is obligated to arrest them should they come to Canada. Will you allow that to happen, or will you step in to prevent an arrest?
First of all, as Canada has always said, it's really important that everyone abide by international law. This is something we've been calling on from the beginning of the conflict. We are one of the founding members of the International Criminal Court and International Court of Justice. We stand up for international law, and we will abide by all the regulations and rulings of the international courts. This is just who we are as Canadians.
So they're going to arrest him, but not for the war crimes in Gaza, for not wearing a mask. That's what I hear.
Yeah.
So what
pretty much.
So what is this all about?
I can't believe he didn't start that speech with saying, "I want to make sure that we are clear that I stand with Israel's right to defend itself."
Yeah,
he really went off script there.
He did. International Criminal Court issues arrest warrant for Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Yeah, let's go.
The International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant and a senior Hamas official. But I think that Hamas official, there was a couple other that are dead now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Accusing them of war crimes during and after the October 7th attack on Israel last year. In a statement on Thursday, the Netherlands-based court said it found reasonable grounds to believe that Netanyahu bears criminal responsibility for war crimes, including starvation as a method of warfare and the crimes against humanity of murder, persecution, and other inhumane acts. The warrants mark a first historic, making Netanyahu the first Israeli leader summoned by an international court for alleged actions against Palestinians in the 76-year conflict. While the International Criminal Court warrants don't guarantee arrests, they could significantly restrict Netanyahu's ability to travel to ICC member states. The Prime Minister's office dismissed the warrants as absurd and anti-Semitic. Israel utterly rejects the absurd and false actions and accusations against it by the internet. Why not just call it anti-Semitic, which is politically biased and discriminatory body, his office said, adding that there is no war more just after the Hamas terrorist organization launched a murderous attack against it, carrying out the... So what you do if someone, a terrorist group attacks you, what you do is you slaughter every woman and child that you can get a bomb around. You drop 2,000
Then you
pound
bulldoze
bombs.
their roads and you raise their buildings and you bomb them in their tents
and in
you
their
cut
hospitals,
off food and water. Yeah, bomb their hospitals and schools just to make sure. And then you make sure everyone knows that you're the victim.
Well, he did bring up the Holocaust.
Yeah.
As he's committing on.
Since reading Israeli Hasbara manuals and the sort of the outline of how Israelis are supposed to talk about the Israeli project, it's just crazy to see the same buzzwords and the same techniques over and over and over in every single thing that they do.
Israel, like the United States, is not a member of the International Criminal Court and has challenged the court's jurisdiction over its actions in the conflict and challenged the court rejected on Thursday. The ICC claims jurisdiction over territories Israel occupies, including Gaza, East Jerusalem, and the West Bank, following the Palestinian leadership's formal agreement to be bound by the court's founding principles in 2015. The court on Thursday also issued a warrant for Hamas official Mohammed Diab Abraham El-Masri, also known as Mohammed Deif, who Israel says was one of the masterminds of the October 7th attack. Israel said it killed him. in an airstrike in July, but Hamas hasn't confirmed his death. The ICC said it found reasonable grounds to believe that Deif was responsible for crimes against humanity, including murder, extermination, torture, and rape, and other forms of sexual violence, as well as the war crimes of murder, cruel treatment, torture, taking hostages, outrages upon personal dignity, and rape of and other form of sexual violence. Hamas welcomed the warrants against Israeli officials in a statement, but made no mention of the warrant issued for Deif. This represents a significant historical precedent. It rectifies a longstanding course of historical injustice against our people and the suspicious negligence of the horrific violations they have endured over 76 years of fascist occupation, it said, calling for all nations to cooperate and bring the Israeli leaders to justice and take immediate action to halt the genocide in Gaza. Hamas had condemned the ICC prosecutor's decision to seek warrants against its leaders in May, saying it was an attempt to equate victims with aggressors. U.S. opposes ICC action against Israel. The Biden administration has in the past come out strongly against the involvement of the ICC in investigating Israel's war in Gaza, but said in the past it did not support sanctions against the International Court. And let me be clear, whatever this prosecutor might imply, there is no equivalence, none, between Israel and Hamas, he said. We will always stand with Israel against threats to its security. In early June, the House of Representatives passed a bill to sanction anyone involved with the International Criminal Court's efforts to investigate, arrest, detain, or prosecute any protected person of the United States and its allies. It has not been brought to a vote in the Senate. Holy shit. Holy shit. Incoming Senate Majority Leader John Thune on Sunday threatened to pursue sanctions against the International Criminal Court if the International Court and its prosecutors do not reverse their outrageous and unlawful act. We're ruled by psychopaths and genociders.
We're ruled by people that were clients of Jeffrey Epstein.
That's what
and
this
Jeffrey
is.
Epstein was a Mossad operation for this exact purpose.
That's exactly why. That's exactly why they had. Exactly why. President-elect Donald Trump imposed sanctions on the former IC. So even if they don't have those politicians, they have the politicians' donors blackmailed.
Yep.
So that's what you need to keep in mind. President-elect Donald Trump imposed sanctions on the former ICC chief prosecutor during his first term in office. Far-right Minister of National Security Itamar Ben-Gvir had condemned the ICC as anti-Semitic. There it is. Adding Israel should respond by applying sovereignty to the occupied West Bank and building Jewish settlements. They already are.
Yeah. They're already building illegal settlements all over Palestinian territory.
Our response to these outrageous allegations of war crimes should be to commit more war crimes.
Yeah.
And occupy the...
That'll teach them.
Yeah. Eli Vleblik, the professor of international law at Tel Aviv University, described the ICC's decision as the most dramatic legal development in Israel's history. Its immediate meaning is that the 124 state parties to the ICC, which include most of Israel's closest allies, would be legally obligated to arrest Netanyahu and Gallant should they be present in their territories. There may also be wider implications, he added, which could limit the ability of third parties to cooperate with the Israeli military. After an arrest warrant has been issued, the ICC sends requests for cooperation to member states. The court does not have a police force of its own to make the arrest, but relies on member states to execute them, which state parties are legally obliged to do. Previous leaders who have been faced with ICC arrest warrants have experienced limitations on their ability to travel, unable to pass through countries legally obliged to arrest them. Let's see what else. Lindsey Graham points the finger at the ICC. If they do this to Israel, we are next. Well, you should be next.
Yeah, sounds great. Don't tempt me with a good time.
So he's admitting this, as Robert Durden says, by implication, Lindsey Graham's admitting that our leaders are in fact complicit, which they are. Syrian Girl says Lindsey Graham, when the ICC is used against Putin and other enemies, he's all for it. But when the ICC is used for an arrest warrant against Netanyahu, he's not. So isn't that interesting? I hope the international community will continue to support the ICC in their endeavors to hold Putin accountable. While I have no illusion that Putin will ever turn himself in, this arrest warrant is extremely significant because it's an action of an international evidence-based body that will stand the test of history. And then now the court is a dangerous joke.
Yup.
It's now time for the U.S. Senate to act and sanction this irresponsible body. That's amazing.
Good going, Lindsey. Good job. Really earning those AIPAC dollars.
Then here's when they passed this was in June when the House passed this International Criminal Court sanctions bill after prosecutor seeks Netanyahu warrant. You don't think they have pictures of Lindsey Graham doing things with the... Yes.
Oh, yeah.
John Mersheimer, he said the Israeli lobby is as powerful as ever. The American international relations scholar on the wars in Gaza and Ukraine and power... Yep, he's right. Anything you had to add to that, Ian?
Oh, just want to remind everybody that we literally just helped Ukraine launch missiles into the Russian homeland, trying to start nuclear war. And Putin has come out very restrained, despite large, powerful factions in Russia trying to get him to be more hostile and militant. And that's the kind of response that we're getting from Lindsey Graham, that Putin is a war criminal and Bibi is not. And anything that Israel does is sacrosanct and holy. It's a really backwards world.
Well,
and I think that going into Trump's next presidency, that sort of is the elephant in the room, is that the Republican Party is split between people that are willing to acknowledge how heinous our relationship with Israel is and those that want to pretend like Israel is God's gift to this green earth. And I really hope that we can collectively hold Trump to account for that whole side of his party.
Well, that's up to most of the MAGA people I meet. I met a lot of MAGA people at the Rescue the Republic.
Yeah.
They are not on board with Israel.
No, they're waking up.
I was just in Lexington, Kentucky. I would say at least half my audience is MAGA. The other half is dirty, smelly hippies. And and I love them. Yep. And the other half is teachers and union organizers and people like that. But the MAGA
what liberals were always supposed to be.
Yeah, people who like me, who used to be Democrats, now aren't. Anyway, those people, the MAGA people, not on the. I would they're not on. They were yelling out, F Israel. And I was like, that's good to hear. Yeah. Now it's up to you.
There's a real awakening going on. A real awakening, especially among younger people. But I got to say, Jimmy, it was really cool. When you went to Rescue the Republic, there was a bit of it wasn't like openly stated, but there's kind of like we're not going to talk about Israel at this event. It's not really the goal here. And I got to give you kudos. You went on stage and you were the only person on that stage that mentioned Gaza and Israel out of all of those speakers. So huge props for that, because that needs to be said on every stage, as long as that genocide is going on.
Yeah, and you have the Palestinian college protesters. Boy, they shut that down.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, if they can shut them down, they can shut us down. And those people cheered when I said that. They're like, yeah, we know this. We're on board for free speech, even for Palestinian protesters on college campuses. So that was supposed to be a rally about free speech and anti-war and sanity.
Yeah.
And it's
real weird when people have one opinion on free speech and anti-war for Ukraine and Russia and a different opinion on free speech and anti-war for Israel and Palestine.
Well, I brought it. They gave me a mic, so I got to give them props for that. They gave me a mic. I used it, and they didn't turn off my mic. Although they did give me the wrap up really quick. They let Matt Taibbi speak for a half a fucking hour. It was a great speech. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, he's awesome.
But then
Jimmy, you're supposed to be telling jokes. Stop bringing up the genocide.
I did. I brought it up in joke form. I did.
Yeah, when the whole world is a joke, it's not hard to bring up jokes.
Come see us doing live shows. We'll be in Los Angeles, Honolulu, Baltimore, Atlantic City, Cohoes, New York, Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets, and only jimmydore.com.